Okay, so yes, which one?
Number 27.
All right, let's take a look at 27. So if it is the end center, all right, what does that mean about if this point right here is the point of concurrency, which is the end center, what is true? You're awesome. That's exactly correct. All three of those are exactly the same. Exactly correct. So now I need to find PB. All right. So PB, we're trying to find out, is this guy right here, right? And I'm assuming that this length, if I'm not mistaken, is 13, right? So then PB would just be a squared plus b squared equals c squared, right? Isn't this a right? Isn't this the same right here, right? Is that a right angle? So what I'm saying is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Is that right? Isn't that a right triangle? Right? Is there? How else are you going to find PB? I mean, that's a right.
I did E divided by 2. I did 14.9 divided by 2. That's right.
Wait, how do you think that doesn't
That's
work?
definitely not it, right? What? When you have a right triangle. Right. Yeah, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm honestly a little surprised they put that here, only because we haven't really reviewed that. Right? Did anybody bother looking at the answers and see if that's what they said to do? So it's x squared plus 10.9 squared equals 13 squared. So now take out your calculators and just do 13 squared minus 10.9 squared equals, and then take the square root of that answer. Yes. Yeah, then you take the square root.
Oh, on the answer you didn't have square root over it.
Yeah, because it had a decimal.
Oh.
Right, there was a decimal. So again, x squared is equal to 13 squared. Oh my goodness. Enough now. What? You okay? We're working. Come on. Take out your calculator and let's go. Is everybody all right with that now? Yeah. Let's finish this off real quick. Does anybody else have any other questions with 27, 28, 29, or 30? Anybody have any other questions? Yes. Well, do you have your calculator? I can't help that. That's not what it says. What does it say? 13 squared minus 10.9 squared. You see why, right? Because we have the hypotenuse. Go.
What? Would you be able to switch the in the lower equations? Would you need to switch the 13 squared and x squared?
That's what she just said. This right here is the hypotenuse. It's not a leg. Remember this? Last year we did that. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. The two legs were a and b, and the hypotenuse was c. You can change a and b around, but you can't change c, because c is the hypotenuse. All right, so what's 28? DE. So this is DE, right?
Oh,
yeah, so because now we know this was what did you say that was 7.1, right? So now it's just 14.9 squared equals 7.1 squared plus b squared, or x squared, whatever. Do you agree with that now?
Yes. 8 plus B squared, and then, AB.
Do you agree with that? So you have to type that in the calculator now. 14.9 squared minus 7.1 squared. And then you take the square root of that answer. What'd you get?
My calculations.
No, your calculator's not messed up. Come on, clear it again. Just do 14.9 squared minus 7.1 squared. And what does that say?
How do you get off from the square root? Is that oh.
Of course, man. What do you think I'm doing the problems?
I got 171.6.
Okay, so now, what'd you get?
171.6.
14,225 minus, okay, so now square root of that. So you hit the second square button, second answer.
If you round it, you got 13. I got 13.
What was the answer?
13.1.
About 13.1.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What was next, Charlotte? 35. Determine whether there's enough information given the diagram to find the value of x.
It said no.
Of course, it's no.
Yeah, but well, I think yes because.
Okay, let me show you why right now. Ready? Look up. Is that perpendicular? Okay, watch. Is that perpendicular? Okay. So this is x. Are they equal now? Because it's perpendicular doesn't mean they're equal.
Oh.
What has to be true? Say it again. Go ahead. Yeah. As long as I tell you this is congruent to that. Number 8. Here we go.
Isn't that the Pythagorean theorem?
If Q is the end center, find JQ. So I'm trying to find this right here, right? You agree with that? Now, if it's the end center, it's just telling me that these are all the same. You agree with that? So this looks to me like this is 9, and that's 9. You agree? And I think I can find, because of this 16.5, I could find this, right? So we agree? I could find that length right there, right? Because isn't that just a squared plus b squared equals c squared, right? Oh, gosh. All right. Does everybody see how that JQ, I can find JQ, but I'm still, I don't, the in-center doesn't say anything about these lines being equal. Oh, that is JQ. I was thinking LQ. I thought I said LQ. So that's all it is. It's just 9 squared plus 16.5 squared equals JQ squared. Right? Yeah. I don't know why I thought it said LQ. Is everybody okay with that? What else? Nothing else? Everybody else is good? All right, I think it's pretty easy one. Most of you said it was pretty easy. A few little things, right? I should have reviewed with you Pythagorean theorem. I didn't realize they were going to do that. All right, so we're all good. Here we go. Let me have these papers now. All right, and then while I'm collecting the papers, today is probably one of the last chances that you're going to be able to make sure you understand how to write equations of lines. All right, so what I want to do is we're going to go through these, and then there's a few things that are going to require you to think a little bit because we're dealing with perpendicular lines again, and it's not that difficult, but if you forgot stuff about lines, then you'll be in trouble. All right, come on. All right, yesterday we did the end center and the circumcenter. All right, today we have two new points of concurrency. The first one is called the centroid. All right, now I need your attention up here. I'm not sure what some of you guys are doing, man. Are you guys putting in your notability? Is that what it is? All right, let me just pause it for a second because it's kind of annoying. Okay, the median. All right. When you take a triangle and you find its midpoint, like D is considered a midpoint, the line from the vertex to the midpoint is called the median. All right? And if I were to draw a midpoint, each one of these, if I drew this midpoint right here, and I would draw from that vertex, all right? That point of concurrency is called the centroid. All right? So again, if I were to just draw from here to here through that point, that would automatically be equal to that. All right? So that point of concurrency is called the centroid. All right? Something unique about the centroid, some people call it like the center of gravity or the center of mass. Right? If I were to cut that triangle out and balance that, the centroid was where I could just balance that triangle perfectly steady. All right? I know that's a big deal. All right? Now, the other unique thing about the centroid is that it separates the median into two parts. This part right here and this part right here. All right? There's always a relationship between the vertex to the centroid and from the centroid to the side of the triangle. We call this x. This would be 2x. And then the whole length would be what? 3x. All right, so there's always that relationship. So all they have to do is give you one of those numbers, and you can figure out the other two numbers. All right? So from, and to me, it wasn't anything that I had to remember because it was obvious. From the side to the centroid, is that smaller or larger than from the centroid to the vertex? Smaller. So that's going to be x. And the larger part will be what? 2x. And then the whole length will be what? 3x. All right? So again, little things like that. All right? Those are just facts about it that you just have to know. All right? And here's where they talk about it, right down here. The medians of a triangle intersect at a point called the centroid. That is 2/3 of the distance from each vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. All right? So what I told you was from here to here was x, which means PL is 1/3 of BL. Should I agree with that? BP is 2/3 of BL. Should I agree with that? All right. And then, of course, the whole length is 3x. All right. Hopefully everybody's okay with that. Very simple. All right. Now, the next thing that we're going to draw are for the points of concurrency are the altitudes. All right. And in a triangle, the triangle will have 3 altitudes. And the 3 altitudes will meet at a point of concurrency called what? The orthocenter. All right, called the orthocenter. All right, now honestly, I haven't really found much value in the orthocenter. I've tried to look some information up to say why is it important or how could it be used. And I haven't found much information on the significance of the orthocenter. All right, so the easiest way for me to remember orthocenter was ortho is means perpendicular. All right, means perpendicular. All right, and perpendicular has to do with the height or the altitude. All right, so again, nothing exceptional there. All right, the thing that's kind of a pain about the orthocenter is how you find the orthocenter. To find the orthocenter, what we're going to do is we're going to draw this line. We're going to calculate that line. Then we're going to calculate this line. And then we're going to find the point of intersection. All right, which is just a good review of lines. All right. Same process can be done with the centroid. But there's a shortcut to find the centroid. All right, there's a shortcut to find the centroid, and we'll talk about that. All right, but let's go down now. All right, to let me show you, demonstrate how simple the problems are today. All right. So if triangle ACE, if P is the centroid, PF is 6. So if PF is 6, I'm going to mark 6 right here. I want somebody to tell me what PC has to be. Tell me. 12. Easy as that, guys. PC is 12. All right. Then AD is 15. So if AD is 15, somebody tell me what PD is.
5.
5. Beautiful. Exactly right. And then what would AP be? 10. Simple. All right. Everybody okay with that? And they didn't give us the other measure, so there's no way to find it. All right, does everybody agree that's kind of easy? All right. Now, I guess this is kind of what I was trying to tell you about the center of mass here. All right. So if you had like a triangular piece of glass and you wanted to make it a table, you could actually put a what? One leg right there. And that one leg would do what? Balance it out and support the whole thing. All right. So our objective now is to try to find that point. All right. We're going to try to find that point. And it's going to require some math. And then what we'll do is I'll try to show you a shortcut to this one. But I still want to review with you how to do it with the graphing. So what we're going to do is we're going to add, I want everybody to add some graph paper. All right, so what we're going to do is you go to add, go to add, and then it's a sticky. All right. And then when you add a sticky, right, you change the graph paper to small grid, and then when you open it up, all right, it creates the graph. Come on. And the bigger you make it, the more squares it is. So this is what I'm going to do right there. All right, is everybody okay with that? You tap on it, it comes up paper. And then you make the grid smaller. All right? So I think that's a good feature to know. All right, so now I'm just going to make my X and Y axis on here. And like I said, we're going to do it the long way first, and then we're going to show you a quick way to do it. All right, because I want to make sure some of you guys on the last test or 2 tests ago still weren't great at lines. So here we go. So we're going to plot the point -3, 3. And then -1, 7. And then 3, 3. Oh, this one's kind of easy, actually. All right. So now I'm going to graph this right here. All right, now please try to listen now. All right, this is kind of important. All right, so everybody drew that out, correct? Remember, the centroid is, the first thing we need to do is we need to find the midpoint. Gavin, what's the matter?
How did you get to the small?
Let's say you tap on it, and then it comes up paper. Then you tap on paper, and it has smaller grids. Do you see it now? All right. Everybody okay now? All right. Kind of reproduce this now. All right. All right. Now, here we go, guys. Try to pay attention now because I'm going to try to find it. All right, so here we go. Now, the first thing I want to do is the centroid has to do with the midpoint. So everybody look here, right? So I'm going to look at the bottom one. And why am I choosing that one? Because that's the easiest one to find the midpoint on. Everybody should be able to look at that and say, well, the midpoint looks to me like about right there. So everybody see the midpoint? Now, how do we do midpoint again? Midpoint is just the average of the x's and the average of the y's. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw, we're going to draw that median. That's the median. Is everybody okay with that? Everybody okay? Now, this point right here is 0, 3. This point right here, right? I'm just going to make sure you guys see that, right? In order to write the equation of a line, I need the slope. Does everybody agree? So now, the slope of that line is 1, 2, 3, 4 is -4. Now look, please speak up now. I know which ones of you had trouble with writing equations of lines. All right, now's another opportunity for you to catch up. Does anybody have any questions with where I got 0, 3, and -4?
Is it -4 because you're going
Down 4 and over 1.
Okay.
This is what I did. I went down 4 and I went over 1. That's why the slope is -4. Speak up. Ask me. Anybody have any questions with that? Come on, guys. Everybody's good? All right, so now how do I write the equation of the line? We would say y minus 3 equals -4 times x minus 0. Do I agree with that? Easy, right? So now y equals -4x plus 3. So that's the equation of that purple line. Connor, you good? Anybody? Gavin? Anybody have any questions? Carson, I don't know why I called you Connor. All right, here we go. So I'm at negative 4x plus 3. So here we go. Now, I want a midpoint. All right, I want a midpoint. All right, of either of the other sides. Now, if I'm looking at it, here's what I want to try to show you, see if you agree. This looks like the midpoint. Okay, I'll blow it up. This blue looks like the midpoint of this line over here. Now, I'm not saying it's correct. I'm saying that's about what it looks like to me.
Yes.
Right? Now, if I wanted to find the midpoint, again, just to make sure you recall, midpoint is what? x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Is everybody okay with that? That's the midpoint formula. So now, this point over here was, is that right, negative 1 comma 7? And this point over here was 3, 3, right? So let's see. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 7 plus 3 is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So as we suspect, that is correct. Everybody agree with that? So this point right here, now I know for sure, is 1, 5. Does everybody agree with that? Any issues? Now watch, I'm going to draw from here to here. And guess what? We just found the what? That right there is called the centroid. All right, that's called the centroid. All right, but what I want now is I want that point that it goes through. I need someone to help me out with the slope. What is the slope? Come on, the slope of the blue line. Tell me.
2
Yep.
over negative 5.
I don't know about that.
Negative 1.
Wow.
I'm good. 1 over 2.
Yeah, 1 over 2, guys. Come on, come on. The slope is 1/2. Up 2 and over 4. Up 2 is positive to the right 4. 2 over 4 is 1/2. That's why I'm trying to tell you guys. There's no reason not to ask me a question. Because what I thought was so obvious, I had 1 in 3 people get it right. So that means some of you are sitting there not knowing what you're doing. So now I'm asking again. If you don't know how I got the slope as 1/2, just please ask.
Wait, so like what?
Rise over run. That's all I did. From this point, now watch me. I'm going to change colors so you can see better. I'm going from this point to this point. Didn't I go up 2 and over 4? So now I'm at a slope of what? 1/2. Anybody have any issues with that? Any questions? Any questions? I'm agreeing, right? So now what's the equation of that line? Someone tell me the equation of that line. All right.
Y minus 5
Y minus 5 equals.
equals 1/2 parentheses x minus 1.
Beautiful. That is the equation of that line. Everybody okay with that so far? All right, just reviewing. Good? All right, so now I'm just going to solve it for y. So y equals 1/2 x minus 1/2 plus 5 should be what? Come on, that's mental math for us. How much? 3.5? 4.5? Better even to say 9 over 2. Right? Plus 9 over 2. Now remember, how did I do that? 5 is 10 halves. 10 halves minus 1/2 is 9 halves. Anybody have any issues with that? Anybody? Anybody? So now I'm trying to find the point of intersection. So now I have my two lines. Y equals negative 4x plus 3, and y equals 1/2 x plus 9 halves. Everybody okay with that? Now, hopefully we're right. All right? But does everybody agree that point right there is not an exact point? Does everybody agree? So it's kind of hard to do it graphically. All right? So that's why we have these two equations. Now, these two equations are equal, correct? So we want to say 1/2 x plus 9/2 is equal to negative 4x plus 3, right? Everybody agree with that? Because we're brilliant, we're going to add 4. If I add 4, that's going to create what? Thank you. 9/2. Come on, if you can't do that, just put your hands up and say, can you just review fractions with me? All right, is everybody okay with that being 9/2 x? 1/2 plus 4. 4, remember, is 8/2. 8/2 plus 1 is 9/2. All right, now I'm going to subtract 9/2. Well, 3 is how many halves again? 6. 6/2 minus 9/2. There we go, negative 3/2. So now, how do I solve a fraction? Multiply by the? So this is 2/9. That crosses out. So x equals about what? Come on now, this is embarrassing. You're embarrassing. Negative 1/3. Good job. And again, guys, I'm just telling you, you should be pretty good with fractions. All right, you got, what, 8 more months before you're on your own. All right, you should be able to do those fractions. All right, if not, be brave. Nothing to be embarrassed about. Yes, go. Good for you. So because we just did 2 divided by 2, 2 divided by 2, 3, 1, 3. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. Just reducing the fraction. So x is negative 1/3. Now, does that look about right in our picture? Does that look about right? That looks about right to me. Negative 1/3. All right. Now I need to figure out what the y value is. So if x is negative 1/3, how do I figure out what the y value is? That's right. So now let's plug it into this one right here. So what's negative 4 times negative 1/3, guys? No. 4/3. 4/3 plus 3.
13/3.
Thank you. Wow, someone. 13/3. How does that? Go ahead, explain it.
Because 3/3 is 9/3.
3 is
3 is 9/3.
9/3. 9/3 plus 4/3. 13/3. Now, does that look about right? 13/3 is about 4 1/3. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1/3. That looks pretty good to me. Is everybody okay with that? All right. Now, for some reason, I don't know why they don't teach this in geometry books. All right, but I feel like they should. All right, the quickest way to find the centroid, and I'm going to let you do this. Oh, never mind. I thought I was looking at the wrong one. All right. I did, that's why. Does everybody see what I did? What numbers did I use? The question for number what? 4, not the ones for number. I was wondering why they came out weird. All right. But still, again, let me show you now how to find the centroid quickly. All right. So what I want to do is, since I used these numbers, we'll just assume those were the correct numbers. All right. Because it doesn't really matter. All right. So to find the centroid, I want everybody to take a look at this negative 3 plus negative 1. What's that? Plus 3. And the centroid was negative 1/3. So the centroid is simply the average of the x's and the average of the y's. All right. So you don't have to do all that. All right. See if it works for 13/3. It does work. All right. So make yourself a note. Centroid is the average. All right. Centroid is the average of the x's, all right, and the average of the y's, all right? So again, that's my fault. I knew it was weird because the numbers weren't coming out, all right? But that's okay. All right, now what I'm going to do is I want to now find the orthocenter. I'm now going to find the orthocenter. Same kind of technique. All right, same technique. Got to write the equation lines. How much time do I have, by the way?
3.
Oh, so I'm never going to have enough time. Tomorrow, what we'll do is tomorrow we have Grandparents' Day, guys. So I just want to say, you know, I don't know how many grandparents are coming in or walking around or whatever. All right, but I don't want to mess around. All right, I really don't have time to waste. Right, I mean, I can't just say it's we're going to do something. All right, so we only have 30-minute classes tomorrow. All right, and then you have like 3 days off. All right, so I think a good idea would be for me to just finish up this lesson tomorrow, and then we can maybe take a 3-day break. But I'm going to fit a test in probably next week when we get back. All right, because when does the 9 weeks? Who can tell me when the 9 weeks ends?
I think it's like right after we get back, or before this year, or after.
Oh, okay. So I was worried. My fault. Then I was thinking for some reason the 9 weeks. Someone gave me some bad information. I thought somebody was telling me like it ends.
She said it was like in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I heard it. And it's not even close to 2 weeks, right?
It's like
Okay. All right. So again,